I'm asking the tough questions here, probing the unknown, going where no Bianca has gone before. Can turkeys fly? Here's the thing. I had chickens as a kid. I actually had a very cool raccoon-resistant coop. Raccoons love chickens, in case you didn't know. So do coyotes and mountain lions. Chickens are like the domestic form of rabbit. They are designed by God to be eaten. And chickens have wings, but they aren't great flyers. But they can use their wings to get up on rooftops and over fences sometimes. So I always assumed that if you tried to toss a turkey from a roof, it would flap and slow itself down enough for a soft landing. Apparently they mostly panic and suffer horrific injuries. So when I saw the Wkrp in Cincinnati turkey episode, I had questions. And now, decades later, I am seeking answers. This is a garbage tier website, CBR, but it came up on the start page search results. Has WKRP's famous turkey drop based in reality? TV urban legend. The famous WKRP in Cincinnati turkey drop was based on an actual turkey drop. Probably the most famous Thanksgiving episode of any television sitcom is Turkeys Away, from the first season of WKRP in Cincinnati. The series was about a struggling radio station that changed formats from easy listening to rock and roll. The conflict, and thus the comedy, came from the contrast between the people who worked for the station beforehand, bumbling but kind-hearted station manager, sleazy ad salesman, and timid news reporter, and the new young and hip hires, program director Andy Travis, disc jockey Dr. Johnny Fever, and Venus Flytrap. The seventh episode of the series, Turkeys Away, which actually aired on October 30th, 1978, despite the show's Thanksgiving episode, showed Carlson trying to take more of a hands-on approach to prove that he still had it what it took to run the station. He came up with a secret promotion for Thanksgiving. It was all hush-hush until the end of the episode, where Nessman was on the street reporting live when the event occurred. As it turned out, the secret project was that Carlson was having a bunch of turkeys drop from a helicopter high up in the air to the crowd below. The trouble, of course, is that turkeys aren't particularly known for flying. Nessman called the drop in the style of Herbert Morrison's famous radio call of the destruction of the Zeppelin called the Hindenburg in 1937, right down to Nessman echoing Morris's famed cry, "Oh, the humanity!" Whatever turkeys that survived then turned on the crowd and attacked. When Carlson and Tarlick walked in, covered in feathers, Carlson was in shock, but also apologetic. As the episode ended, he uttered the famous line, "As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly." The episode was a classic. However, a reader wrote in to ask if the story was based on a real-life event. There are different takes on that, Ed, but I think it's safe to say basically yes. There was an oral history for the episode of this excellent classic TV history blog, and there's conflict between the Wilson, the creator of the show, and the showrunner of the show, an uncredited co-writer of that episode, and Brown, a friend of Wilson's who worked in sales for an Atlanta radio station. Herb Tarlick was roughly based on Brown, though obviously exaggerated to an extreme. Wilson based much of the show on that Atlantic radio station, WQXI, including the station's sales manager, Jerry Bloom, who was partially the inspiration for Arthur Carlson. Here's Wilson's take, and here's Brown's take. Wilson: I was allowed to see everything, and then Bloom, the station manager, told me about a promotion, I believe in Texas, and I want to say Dallas, but I'm not sure, in which he threw turkeys out of a helicopter, and they didn't fly. They crashed to the ground. It was just a horrible disaster, and he wound up losing his job over it. So I said to him at the time, "Jerry, I think you just won me an Emmy." Brown says the turkey drop was actually a real incident. It was at a shopping center in Atlanta. I think it was Broadview Plaza, which no longer exists. It was a Thanksgiving promotion. We thought that we could throw these live turkeys out into the crowd for their Thanksgiving dinners. All of us, naive and uneducated, thought that turkeys could fly. Of course, they just went effing splat. People were laughing at us, but not with us, but it became a legend. There were other stories of this nature that were embellished on WKRP. That one was really not embellished that much, although the turkeys were thrown off the back of a truck as opposed to how it was depicted on the show. Wilson said, I didn't dream up the helicopter. My memory is Jerry said a helicopter. Bloom's son, Gary, wrote in to give me the full scoop. Gary wrote, contrary to growing folklore and a mythical embellishment, the actual turkey drop never took place in Atlanta or at WQXI. It was years earlier in the 60s when Jerry was at a station in Texas called K-Box. No, there was no helicopter, but that embellishment made it fun for TV, I guess. For radio promotion, they did attempt to throw live turkeys out of the back of a pickup truck in a shopping center parking lot, and yes, it was a mess. Over the years, the story had grown to frozen turkeys or even live turkeys out of an airplane. That is pushing it just a bit. Think about how things have changed in a few years between suburban and rural, or city life and rural life, when if you got a turkey, a live turkey, that meant you had to either kill it and bleed it out there or take it and somehow tie its wings down, its legs together, take it home, either break its neck or chop it, and then dress the turkey. How many people would know what to do if they were given a live turkey and they said, okay, here, hold it down on the stump and chop its head off? People would look at you like you're crazy. But that was rural life in much of the first world. Not that long ago. Wasn't that long ago, and we have changed so much. Now, even if Wilson and Brown exaggerated their stories, it is important to note that there have been turkey drops in various parts of the country, going back decades before Wkrp in Cincinnati. The most famous turkey drop occurs in the town of Arkansas, in Yellville, Arkansas. The area is famed for its wild turkeys, so the town decided to begin celebrating their turkeys by having a special turkey day on the first Friday and Saturday in October. Say they town. So I guess this means when you write articles like this, I'm not trying to dunk on the guy because everyone makes mistakes. But when you're writing these small articles and there's just not much money in each click, you can't pay an editor. You can't. There's just simply no one to look over the article. If the article is going to make a couple $100, I don't know how much it makes. You certainly couldn't pay somebody to look it over. You have to edit your own thing. But one trick to editing is to read what you wrote aloud, and that you'll catch mistakes. Actually, I remember hiking up in my local hills, seeing wild turkeys, and what's that other big bird? Not, I want to say parakeet. It's not a parakeet. What's that other big bird with the big tail? The plume, the tail, it's like a sexual display. It has a big tail. It's the size of a wild turkey, but it starts with a P. A partridge? Is it a partridge? Anyway, I remember seeing these birds up in my hills, and they are huge. Wild turkeys are monsters. And I don't think I would want to pick one up and start playing with it. Chickens, yes, chickens can be very, very friendly. But turkeys are like 2 or 3 times the size of chickens, so I wouldn't mess with them. So the town decided to begin celebrating their turkeys by having a special turkey day on the first Friday and Saturday in October. The event began in the 40s when they dropped turkeys from the roof of the town's courthouse. That just sounds cruel. In the 60s, they changed to dropping turkeys from an airplane. In 1989, the National Enquirer covered the event. They made the whole thing quite infamous for Yellville. As the Enquirer described, one turkey slammed into a power line so hard the wire bent down about 3 feet before snapping back up. The bird hit the ground, shocked and dazed, and tried to walk, pitifully trying to run on 2 obviously broken legs before it was crushed to death by a pileup of kids. After smashing into a tree and coming to rest on a branch, one of the birds was pursued by a gang of kids who captured and fought over it, using it in a grisly tug-of-war that ended when one boy tore the turkey's wings off. The newspaper also included a photo of the turkeys being... Oh my gosh. Is that funny or tragic? This sad little turkey. I feel for you, buddy. I feel for you. The national outcry led to the event no longer being spoused. What a horrible... Is this town Jerusalem's Lot or something? It sounds like a horrible, bloodthirsty crew. No longer being sponsored directly by the town, but rather by a private group. What kind of sick sadists are these turkey-hating monsters? So the event continued. Dear God, why? Why? So you could tear apart a living turkey? Just break its neck and eat it, like normal people. Just without the official support of the town. That kept up for decades until eventually outcry led to stopping it for a bit. However, they picked up again this year. One of the first batch of 6 turkeys died during the drop. The other 5 managed to glide to safety. Okay, so that's kind of what I thought, is that they're not really designed to fall if they were smart enough to get their heads down and open their wings, they would definitely glide. Or even if they just flap their wings spastically on the way down, they would create so much drag and resistance that they would hit the ground very, very gently, like the chickens do. But I guess if they're tossed out of an airplane, they're not like faced in the most aerodynamical, turkey dynamical flight. I don't know, the pattern for the wind to go over their wings. And they're turkeys. They're not really bright, and they're not made to. They've evolved out of flight, I guess. Though I assumed, for a long time, turkeys could fly. Maybe I was confusing with something else. So while Wkrp in Cincinnati played the whole thing for laughs, it really does go on in the country, so the legend is true. Thanks for the information, blah, 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 blah. Write in with your suggestions. Interesting. What's this horrific image? And it sounds absolutely horrific to me, but I'm sure, they're in England, they chase foxes, and for some reason people are upset over foxes. And foxes, coyotes are just essentially vermin, but I guess the dogs probably tear them apart, so it seems kind of cruel. And it's probably something that rich people do, so people are automatically not cool with that. Anyway, this video is because I had mentioned Wkrp in Cincinnati in my prior video yesterday, and I thought it was very, very interesting. Sad little turkey. Anyway, leave a like and a comment and subscribe if you're not already subscribed for this for this really hard-hitting commentary and content.